Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please. Colleen?
Haefman,
Here.
Huseby,
Here.
Kirsch,
Here.
Kissinger Wolf,
Here.
Long,
Here.
Stubal,
Here.
Swinty,
Here.
Baloo,
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here. We have a quorum. Next agenda item is to adopt the agenda as presented. Entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I so move. Scooball?
Second.
Second, Baloo.
Okay, a motion is second to adopt the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. District Administrator's Report. Wendell?
I just have a couple things. I want to first thank the admin team for all their work and efforts for our back-to-school fall in service. Feel like it was one of the better ones that we've had in the years that I've been here. The feedback that we've gotten from staff was pretty positive. And you know, so there's a lot there that we can build off of and do a few things different, but for the most part, I think there were a lot of things in there that we did that they've been asking for. So, and it mixed in and coupled nicely with some of the professional learning that we wanted. So there's a lot of work going into that throughout the month of August, and I just want to give credit where it's due because the admin team worked incredibly hard to pull all that together. Second thing, I want to acknowledge John Marin, who you will see on the consent agenda, has given his letter of retirement for the end of this year, and I don't see John over there tonight, but
Scoring volleyball.
oh, he's scoring volleyball tonight. John's been in the district for 19 years. This is his 19th year, actually. We wish him all the best. He typically is right there. I thought we'd see him tonight, but he's been an asset to our district for all of those years, and we will definitely miss him. Third, I want to talk just a little bit, and I'll talk more about this next month as things come together, but we are hosting the Common Professional Development through CESA 9. Last year, we attended it in Anago. This year, we are going to host, we are the host site for it. Right now, it looks like it was going to be us, Mosinee, and Anago. It looks like Anago is pulled out. They no longer are going to be a part of it, so it'll be us and Mosinee for sure. And then if another school wants to shift or come into our block, they can. Next year, it looks like we will have Merrill included in that as well. So it'll be us, Mosinee, and Merrill, and potentially one of the other schools in our area. So we will have. We were set to have around 600 people here that day, and you know, this will be sort of a collaborative piece between us and CESA 9 as far as the hosting piece of it goes. They'll pull together a lot of the logistics, but we'll have our facility ready for everything that they need. But we're looking forward to a good day that day and a lot of connections being made between our staff and the staff of Mosinee and hopefully another school if we can pull one in.
What date is that?
October 27th. We'll be pulling together, we have a format together, and I'll be pulling together our district newsletter that I talked to you about that will go out at the end of September or early October. This will be an annual piece that will go out to every mailbox in our district. And actually then even a few more, because I think it's gonna be easier just to include every township than to try to separate some of those townships. But I'll send a preview of that out to the board as I finalize it within the next week or so. At one of my updates, but we're well on our way to getting that up and ready and sent out. And then I just wanted to update the board that next week, Wednesday through Friday, I'll be attending the WASDA Fall Conference down in Madison.
Anything else?
That is it.
Any questions for Wendell? Okay, thank you. Next item is the consent agenda items, and we have a few of them. First one is approve the minutes from the Operation Finance Committee of August 7th. Approve the minutes from the regular meeting on August 8th. Approve the minutes from the Policy Committee meeting on August 14th and 21st. Approve the minutes from the Executive Committee meeting on August 21st. Approve the minutes from the Ad Hoc Committee meeting on August 22nd and September 7th. Approve the minutes from the Personnel Committee meeting on September 6th. Approve the minutes from the closed session of the Personnel Committee meeting on September 6th. Approve the invoices from August 5th through September 6th. Employment and contract adjustments as listed. And finally, proposal to approve the community, that's it, right?
Consent.
Yep, okay. So I'd entertain a motion to approve those consent agenda items.
I do have one change I need to make note of. The ad hoc committee, September 7th, says you present, Ron, instead of me. I was there, you weren't, just making sure that we have the record correct.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
With that being said, I'll make the motion.
Okay, with that change?
Correct.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the change proposed. A second?
Second, Scoball.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda items as presented with the proposed change. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, let me jump down. Okay, now, next is item 8, proposal to approve the Community Education Program Coordinator position. Wendell, did you want to bring that up?
Sure. So this was a position that I ran by the Personnel Committee. I've attached the job description for this in the board packet so that you could see it. Ultimately, just an overview of what the position would be is somebody who could help coordinate and facilitate more offerings between people within our community that want to utilize our facility, teach classes in our facilities, other adult learning types of things that you know we could have come forward in our community, whether it be exercise classes or book clubs, you name it, cooking classes, that sort of thing. So the position would start out part-time with the opportunity to grow into a full-time position based on you know, recruitment and how fast you grow the program. So ultimately, that's it. I'll answer any questions if anybody has after looking over the job description.
I guess the only comment I have, I talked with Wendell about this. I think this fits into our strategic plan. We're trying to get the get community involvement, let community know what's going on in the school and stuff like that. I mean, you can open the doors. It doesn't mean anybody's going to show up. You usually got to go out and get them. So personally, I think it's a good idea for this position, especially half-time, and then it can work its way into full-time. I'd love it to be a full-time position.
It does create good opportunity, which we need to make sure we're doing.
Right, right. So, I mean, that's my comment anyway.
I also think it's a great idea. I think my only comment on it is that this person has to work very closely with the administrative team. And the announcements that they make need to be, I'm gonna call them joint announcements. Don't take the word joint literally, but joint announcements meaning that the directors of different activities are involved in the announcements, that the superintendent is involved in the announcements, that this person doesn't become the face of the district. The face, this person is the, I'm gonna call it the administrator of the program, and again, grain of salt with that word, but administrator of the program, and that all the activities of this position needs to be coordinated, like technical education related things would be done with the director of tech ed and band. Things related to fine arts would be related to the persons who deal with fine arts, so that this is a team effort, and the face of the district is this person. Certainly, I'm not taking that away from them, but also the primary people who are gonna do the work, or are doing the work.
Good point, Dick. I think it's a very good point.
Yeah, agree.
Any other discussion?
I looked at Rhinelander's site with this whole thing too, and I like the form that they have online for people to identify programs that would be of interest, and that might be something Jennifer to put into position too.
Yeah, I think it could be sent out at some point too, when we send out the letters to the community. We could list, here's what's available. I know that Nicolay does that. They'll send out a whole brochure of all the different classes that they have in a given semester or year. So I think it's a way to advertise it, I think.
I agree.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, then I'd entertain a motion to approve the Community Education Program Coordinator position as presented.
Used to be so move.
Second?
First, second.
Okay, motion is second to approve the Community Education Program Coordinator position. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Staff reports. The list is, first one is the AD report, and I know he's probably involved in the game, but if you would pass this on to him, I went to the JV game last night, and they had the players, the programs for the players. It was nice. I could associate a name with the number that's playing and on both teams. And I know I brought it up, I think, last year one time, but I appreciate that. So if you pass that on,
Sure.
I'd appreciate it.
And just before we go, I did talk with Ryan Flynn about, when he comes to present, and what he's going to do is at the end of every sports season, so probably in November, he'll come in and he'll deliver a staff report with a season end. But most of his evenings are gonna be pretty taken up during the,
Yeah.
during the regular, so March probably, and then November for sure, and then one in June at the end of the year.
Okay. Guy, I think you're up.
Okay, so we've gotten off to a fast start at the elementary. You do have my report. Some things we have currently going on is we are in our second year of explicit instruction. This year we're combining the swivel camera use with some internal coaching provided by our staff with our leadership, explicit instruction leadership team. And then a monthly theme that we took based off of what we learned last year with the Anita Archer framework. We also have a literacy group, or a team that a leadership team that Mark headed up. And we had a meeting Monday where we talked about some goals and developing, or maybe seeing where we're at and what direction we want to go. And so I don't know if Mark is going to mention anything more, or do you want to say something more about that now? Okay, so we had that meeting. One thing, looking at the perception survey, I decided to start kind of a parent community group, like 1 hour a month, being available, inviting community parents in, talk about some of the current things that are going on. So, we got a lot of new things and things that we're trying to start. I want to get some feedback from the parents too on it and be able to have that opportunity to meet with them. So, everything else is in my report. I don't know if you have any questions.
I have one guy. Linda Van Stradek's in a new position for you. How has her year started out then?
It started off very well. She's she's a resource. She's helping teachers kind of recognize if they need a calming corner, trying to give them some help if they have some questions. She's already gotten into a number of classrooms. She's met with some students that needed some individual attention. So I would say she's jumped right into it. She's doing a great job, and it's definitely going to be a valuable resource for us.
I agree. I think her position could really do a lot of positive things for the elementary.
Yep, I can see it already, so.
Good, good.
Any other questions for Guy?
You had your first building leadership meeting and discussions good?
Yeah, we had some discussion. There's some things we need to look at with, I would say, our release time. There's a little bit of question about release time, and then our entry time at the beginning of the day. So there's some things that we need to look at, but we had some discussion on it.
Good. Anything else? Thank you. Okay, middle school?
Yep, I'm good now. So just a couple of things I want to touch on. First of all, thank you to Mrs. Helt, Mrs. Wagner, Ms. Neiman, and our new guidance counselor, Ms. Cerny, who popped in and helped out too, to bring our web program back to the students again for our 6th grade orientation. It went very well, and our sixth graders really benefit from that day of coming in where it's just them and they can learn the routines, and it really lowers the anxiety level. So when we all came back on the first day of school on the 5th, they were a lot more comfortable than they would normally be. So big thank you. It's a big undertaking, and they did a great job. And to all the 8th grade web leaders that came in and gave a day of their summer to get ready for the 6th graders coming in, they did a great job facilitating that as well. So thank you to them. Also, something that I just want to point out that we're going to be trying to do this year is in our PBIS rewards program. We talked about the store coming last year. The one thing I did is I put out a letter in the summer asking if any community businesses wanted to partner with us. And we would feature them as like a sponsor of the month for anything that they wanted to donate towards this initiative to keep our store like vitalized and running well. So right away, the first people we heard from was Chuck's. Emmy reached out and they donated some gift cards for our store, which we had in there last year that I had purchased, but they donated a bunch. So I just want to point that out, that they were the first ones to donate, and really thank you for doing that. And also we're going to be promoting their business. We have them on the TVs, in the school and on social media and things like that. And I want to mention this because our next business coming up that's partnering with us is, again, kind of no surprise, it's WJJQ. And Greg reached out as well, said anything you guys need. And the one thing that we are going to do in return is next month, and it'll be before the board meeting, so I wanted to point this out. I believe it's October 4th, it's a Wednesday, for the community forum. A couple of our students and our new PBIS coach, one of them, Miss Coleman, Susie Coleman, will be going over there, and they're going to be on the radio talking about the program and the store and kind of what, our Hatch and Pride initiative and all of that stuff. So just as a heads up, I wanted to tell you, because it'll be in our board report, but I wanted to give you the heads up so that you knew that was coming. And then the last thing, just to point out, is our building leadership team met, as you can see, during our in-service week, and using some of the data that we got on our second data dig day. We came up with a pretty good plan of work of things that we're going to be working on throughout the year, and especially towards the beginning, middle of the year, which has a lot to do with students and parent engagement. And you can read kind of the 4 big bullet things that we have planned that we'll be meeting and working on throughout the year. So, any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
High school?
So I'm gonna piggyback on Stacy's web. We had Link at the high school. On the first day of September 1st, it went really, really well. We had 24 Link leaders, so juniors and seniors, who were in 2, 8 to 1 days in the summer, gave up the time, and then another refresher day the day before school to get prepped for those freshmen to come in. Attendance was outstanding. We just had one parent excuse that day, so other than that, we had all of our freshmen here, which was outstanding. Thanks to Dawn Hughesby and Amanda Johnson and Taylor Hazinski Pike, and then we had several other staff members who helped that morning too, and then others that just jump in. It's like all hands on deck. It's amazing to see. So real good day. Energy is going to continue. We do things throughout the year. This year we're going to start a little bit earlier, because last year we saw some things with homecoming that were different. They were really quiet, just the energy level wasn't what we'd like it to be. So the leaders are going to meet with their crews here in the next 2 weeks from now, and they're going to talk about homecoming and what we do for homecoming. Or kind of have to pre-teach them how that rolls. So we're excited about that.
Right?
So there's 2 items that I wanted to highlight under the teaching, learning, and relevance pillar, dealing with some readiness indicators. And as you know, it's kind of a theme for me, is just reporting out on some of those pieces. So one was just a recognition of our AP staff and the students taking our advanced placement courses, that again being recognized with the PACER Award, which is an absolutely wonderful accomplishment. But that's been on our radar here for a couple of years. And so last year, one of the items that we started working on as a group of advanced placement teachers and getting some other people involved is this: what do we want the advanced placement experience to be in Tomahawk? What are the things that are going to be the foundational components? Because we felt like we needed to kind of have that statement where you could put it on a wall and embed those things into your courses and actually have kids aware that, you know, collaboration is a big part of being successful in AP, and today, here's how we're going to be practicing it. You know, looking at rigor and how do you handle the rigor of an AP class and the challenge. Here are tools you need to be taking advantage of, and making sure that it's not hidden, that it's right out in front for kids to see and be aware of. This is how we're helping prep you for being ready after high school. So last year is when we spent the time having a lot of discussions around that and putting it into basically a one-page document that reflects a lot of discussion. And now this year, our AP staff is going to be implementing that philosophy within their classroom. So that'll be out on the front for everyone to see. And we're hoping that's gonna help us go from that pace setter level 3 to pace setter level 2 and 1 by getting more kids involved and still increasing that success. So it's actively looking at those numbers to make a change. The second piece I just wanted to allude on was the personal finance course. So many of you are aware that we've had a graduation requirement of taking a personal financial planning class for a long time. And that's been a required class for us for a long time. And Mr. Nye has been our most recent foundational teacher of that course, and he's constantly adding new components to the class. And one of the things that we were discussing over the last few years was this idea of, is that an opportunity for our students to all have a dual credit experience if they wish? And so he's been going through the work with Nicolay College, and now our personal finance class will be a dual credit option for students.
Good.
So that's pretty neat to say that every single student graduating from Tomahawk High School will have an opportunity to take a dual credit class if they wish. And then there's that piece of, you know, with how it transfers into other schools is exactly like all other dual credit classes where they have to do some research, but every single student will have the opportunity to do that. So the one thing I just wanted to make a note of was when it comes to a lot of the data reporting that we do when it comes to dual credit classes and goal setting that we do, understand that data point will be omitted. And that's a recommendation from the DPI because it can skew your other data that every single kid is taking dual credit. It kind of covers up the other pieces that you might be looking at. So know that that's always going to exist, but it won't be reflected in some of the data that we're reporting out because of DPI recommendations.
Any questions? I had a couple, Ryan. One is, I assume then Mr. Nye will be teaching that dual credit course?
He's our primary teacher, correct.
Okay.
I think he's been doing all of the sections here for some time.
Okay. And then one other, in the teaching, learning, and relevance section, you said that, at least one AP exam and 60% or more of the students earn scores of 3 or above on the exams? Okay, what is a 3?
So,
What's the
great
best?
question. So when you look at an advanced placement score on a test, it's a state 9 score of 1 to 5.
Okay,
So generally speaking, it's up to the university level of what they accept for a minimal level of passing to get the college credits. Most common is a 3 that you would see with universities and their acceptance level. So basically that's saying that that's a criteria that's being met by those students, is they're passing the exam to earn the college credits at most universities.
so it doesn't matter if they got a 3, 4, or 5, then I assume.
Correct. Now, you might see a
It doesn't.
university related to a letter grade on their transcript.
Oh,
So
okay.
some universities have the discretion to say to get an A on your transcript, in your GPA, you have to get a 5.
Okay,
So that component is up to the university itself.
okay, thanks, I don't know, is that out of 10 or what? Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Thanks. Okay, Mark?
So you have the report, there's a lot of stuff on the report about everything that kind of led up to where we are right now. And I would say starting on Monday, the phase of this job in many ways shifts. Because it's not about prepping teachers for the start of the school year, it's begun. So now it's about where do we go from here, what's the professional development that we're gonna offer, how do we support our teachers and the students that we have, and looking at all of our programs and taking a deep analysis to see how do we move forward from here. So Guy mentioned the literacy committee, which I think went very well on Monday. The goal of that committee, we talked about Act 20 the last month, and the goal of that committee is really to take a deep dive into Act 20, see how it affects us, and then see how those changes could affect us moving forward in the grades all the way up through our senior year. It's a really long breath. We know right now we're fully embedded in the screening window. This is our fall screening window, so for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks in some instances, all students are being assessed on something. Well, most of our students are being assessed on something. So a lot of what we're doing right now is making sure those assessments are the right assessments, not making sure that they're running the right way. So when students go on, it takes the least amount of time possible out of the classroom instruction. So there's all these tweaks and things happening throughout the whole district, and it kind of just moves along. The final thing I would say is we're just trying to set up a bunch of small PD hits to support as many teachers as we can with whatever needs they could need. So if it's whether using a program such as EduClimber or FastBridge, which were very hot topics today, or whether it's simple things such as how do I put something on my Canvas course so I can communicate better with parents. Trying to get all those small PD offerings, the staff is gonna start seeing those today. Well, the first one came out today. So they're gonna start seeing rolling out over the next couple weeks, so that hopefully for the next several months, we have these once or twice a week PD hits that are just really quick hits that staff can choose to attend if they want to.
Okay. Any questions?
I was wondering, on the literacy
Yeah.
piece, they've made that clear to you, that's the guidance there? Last I knew you were waiting for,
We have it. It's very robust, would be a simple way to say it. They're still working on a lot of the details behind the scenes as far as, because we know that a January timeline for the state and the legislature doesn't mean it's January. It means something a little bit different. So they're supposed to give us basically what the three to five programs would be that we could choose from to move forward with our K-3 literacy program. The reality is we know what probably is not going to be accepted. We know what probably will be accepted. It's not really a surprise for people who do the research on the information. I think it's some of the other pieces we have to worry about a little bit more, and they have some very specific instructional expectations, and we kind of have to pay attention to some of those pieces. That's where when some of those small PD hits, many of them are instructional to say, hey, here's something. We're just kind of feeding it slowly to teachers, because we know if we give one big 4-hour professional development session, it just goes right over their head. It's a great, I love the motion. I love that. We both did the same thing. So our hope is small, consistent hits, and as we move forward, we just slowly start closing the gaps on some of the pieces we have with instruction.
I also think by taking small bits, it's less threatening than a bigger change.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Well, that's the hope. We'll find out in a couple months.
You will.
Yeah, one way or the other. I'm sure we'll all will.
Okay,
okay, thank you.
thanks, Frank. Wendy?
The biggest areas of focus of this year is we've really been working on some family engagement, community involvement, trying to give parents tools and activities to help strengthen their skills and their relationships with the school. So we've got some dates firmed up. We have some staff members that have been previously trained in Love and Logic. We're offering that. So if you know people in the community, businesses, daycares, anybody, people can sign up for that if they're interested. Contact one of your offices, they can get you a flyer. So we're trying to get as many people as we can for that. We also, I missed putting on there, we have Ryan's story coming in November. So actually Wendell came across it and brought it to my attention, and we kind of looked into it a little bit. And on our survey, one of the things that commonly comes around is bullying. And he addresses bullying and suicide prevention and mental health. So 5th through 12th graders, we're gonna go in 2 separate sections. And then we're also offering a parent event that evening as well for the community, community and parents to come in. So we're pretty excited about that. And then we're starting to firm up some of the other days for other parent groups. So that's really just the area of focus that we're working on. And then last year, Wendell and I talked to the bus company about getting some verbal de-escalation training for the bus companies. I used to teach the class. After 15 years, I finally said, it's a wash whether the district pays for it or I teach it. So I've expired. So we hooked them up with CISA. They're gonna do the training on campus, but we're gonna provide, they're gonna provide that training for bus drivers as well. So that's a good positive. So, any other questions?
Okay, any questions? Thanks, Wendy. Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, next item is the revision to the 23-24 calendar. Wendell, any comments?
Just a super simple revision to it, moving the elementary start time from 8:15 to 8:10 so that it's accurate when families look there to see the actual school hours.
So, could you repeat that one? I'm
The-
sorry, I was reading.
The elementary start time is the only change that we're making to this year's district calendar, so it's moving to 8:10.
It's moving to 8, I thought we I thought just recently it was at 7:50.
7:50, the teachers, we open the doors, kids can come in, get breakfast, go to their classrooms, teachers are receiving kids. 8:50 is or 8:10, I'm sorry, is the actual start time deadline of school. Like in
So
the
we're-
middle school,
So teachers
start
don't
at
have
7:45.
that 10, 20 minutes to do prep for the day?
right,
Is that accurate?
that's what
So
we're
they're
talking
now
about before.
responsible for their classroom kids at 7:50
It's at 7:50, yeah.
versus 8:10?
8:10 the school day starts, but yes, they come into the building so they start receiving children, which is pretty similar to what goes on in the middle school, and what goes on in the high school. In fact, it's 7:45, I believe, in the middle school and high school.
The
We
kids go
receive-
into the
we receive
classroom?
kids. Yeah, they can.
Are the teachers in the classrooms teaching?
Not
No.
teaching. The day starts at 8 o'clock.
So in the elementary, are the teachers starting to teach with these children that are there?
No, that's 8:10, they start their morning meetings at 8:10. At 7:50, there will be some students that don't have breakfast that will go to the classrooms.
And what are they doing?
Probably waiting for the others to come in from breakfast before they can start their morning meeting.
So there's no learning taking place, they're just in the classroom?
Right. The learning will start at 8:10.
Filtering in. I mean, I've been down there, they're filtering in at that time. Between 7:50 and 8:10, you've got kids being dropped off, and they're entering the building. Rather than what happened before, and this was actually part of our congestion, the buses didn't even drop kids off until, 7:55 or whatever it
Well,
was last year.
yeah, the buses are dropping off at 7:50, when last year was 7:55 they would drop off.
And if they, so I apologize, I'm going back to my days when I was here. And when my kids were here, they had to stay in the cafeteria until a certain time. Is that still happening?
No.
So who's supervising the kids in the classrooms?
The
From
teachers
7:50 to 8:10?
The teachers are in their classrooms.
So their start day is at 7:50,
7:45.
okay. So if I need to run and make some copies, or I need to run and do something, how does that get accomplished? You know what I'm saying? I'm just asking that general question is,
Well, it's kind of hard, when you start receiving students at 7:50, you're expected to be in your classroom. That's the best way I can answer that.
okay. So when did we move away from the kids staying in the cafeteria until they were all released?
I don't
Just
think
from
we
a
would have
historical
room in the
standpoint.
cafeteria for
I
all the
moved away
kids.
from the cafeteria piece when COVID happened.
So it is relatively new.
Right, it would have been that year that we released in, I think, March that following year. The plan was not to have that.
So my
group in the
reaction is not
cafeteria.
totally off the wall, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
I just, I'm thinking to myself of, if I'm an elementary, there is a difference between elementary, middle school, and high school, right? You can put a middle school child in a classroom and expect them to behave themselves for 10 or 15 minutes, and you can run down the hall and look at them and say, I'll be right back, behave yourself, right? You can't do that in the element, they have to be supervised, they just have to.
I would
So-
not do that at any level. No, we supervise kids in classrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's my question is, how are we supporting our classroom teachers with last minute prep, whatever it has to be, first thing in the morning? Are we actually doing that, are we being supportive to them by not keeping the kids in the cafeteria until 8 o'clock or, 8:05 or whatever that?
Guy, you kept all elementary students in the cafeteria?
Yeah.
Right, prior to COVID, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then some would be having breakfast, I think there were maybe a couple grade levels that were outside. And then there was a huge group that was either in the cafeteria, or I would take some up on the track and we'd walk.
Kids in motion.
Well, Kids in Motion too was happening, and that's happening now, but,
I know that there was a time where I said a couple times a week or whatever, I would help out, just in my role. if the weather was inclement, they were in the gym and we'd be tossing balls around or whatever, just to keep them busy. So I'm not out of whack. My mind is remembering things correctly. And I guess my question or my challenge, all right, for you is to be able to say, how are we supporting our elementary classroom teachers before school with prepping for their day, by allowing the kids into the classroom, right, that much early. So I'm gonna challenge you to think about that.
Okay.
Because I think that's a very small way that we can support them and make sure their days start off, you know, the way that they should.
Sure,
So,
I'm assuming you're extending that to the middle and high school as well.
everybody, you know, I guess I would, you know, my focus right now, or my thought process is around the elementary school. But, you know, yeah, I would say that all of our staff should be supported, but I would challenge you to just really take a look at that and see if we're supporting our classroom teachers, you know, the ones that are with these kids for, you know, the bulk of the day, and making sure that they're starting off on the right foot.
I trust our administration to make good decisions regarding what start and end time should be, and whether or not we're treating our teachers appropriately. And I think we have to be careful of having these operational discussions, somehow expecting our administrative team to respond when it's not their point. That's not the place at the board meeting. I just feel strongly that we have to discontinue these kinds of conversations. If we have a question regarding it, then we need to put an agenda item on the board for Wendell to bring a recommendation regarding whether or not our teachers are being treated fairly and effectively. So the question that I see this whole discussion is a question of Wendell to say, Wendell, do you believe that, you know, our administrative team has put this together correctly? And if not, answer my concern through a presentation at a future board meeting.
Okay.
Or a personnel committee meeting.
I have a comment about that. I mean, we're being asked to approve this time, so in questioning, just getting a better understanding, because of last meeting, we were told that start time's 8:50, now it's 8:10. I think there's a confusion here on our part, and I just wanted to clarify.
So ask the question of Wendell to straighten that out for us.
I did.
Right.
The workday is 7:45 to 3:45, and within that, we're talking about student contact time. That's what the essence of the question is. So our teachers are being asked to receive students at the high school, middle school level starting at 7:45 and at 7:50 at the elementary. Does that mean they'll have all their kids in their class? No, but they are asked to supervise. If it wasn't in their classroom, all of our staff would be asked to supervise somebody somewhere. And I think that's pretty common at both of the other levels. You have duties throughout the year, maybe not every day, but for the vast majority of it. So whether it's in your classroom or whether you're moved to a playground setting or another place, from 7:45 to 3:45, you know, those taking care of our students is the number one priority. So that's how I'd answer it right now.
Okay. Next item is the ERISA 3 update.
We don't need to approve that division?
No, it's not,
No, we're just
it's
requiring.
not
Yeah,
approval.
Kay had a question.
I just wanted to ask one quick question. What time does Kids in Motion start?
7, usually the doors open at 7:10, it actually starts at 7:50 to 7:45.
Okay.
We ask that the kids be here by 7:25, or else it just seems like a waste if they're coming in at too close to the end time.
And we have funding for that again from,
What's that?
we have funding for that again, or you applied for that from the?
As far as I know,
Because
I haven't
that's-
heard any differently, and we've gone ahead
Okay.
with the planning, and we started it on Monday,
Good.
and
Okay.
we have a good turnout that's showing up already.
But the grant was submitted, right,
Right,
for,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I haven't seen it.
It's funding that goes through December, so then there's I hope that it's still there for the spring.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any of those meetings posted. That's why I'm wondering.
Right.
Okay. ERISA 3 update?
We need a motion for, going back to the previous one, to update the.
Oh, we do.
the calendar, yeah.
I thought it was just discussion. Okay, motion to approve the revision to the district calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the district calendar.
Second?
Long second.
Motion is second to approve the district, change of the district calendar as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Motion carries. Okay. ERISA 3 update. We'll get there yet.
ESSER 3.
Okay,
ESSER.
ESSER 3.
Oh,
So as
okay.
part of ESSER 3, it's the ESSER 3 grant, it goes through September of '24. So these funds, they started in '22, they have to go through '22, '24. So the original one in March of '22, we met, we had community forums, we did surveys, and so on the bottom of the report, we have on there where those surveys came out, what the community and the staff's focus was on. So we always keep the focus on how we spend those funds on there. We can review, is what we decided previously still appropriate, do we need to make some tweaks? So I just highlighted in the bold on there, current changes we made. So one of the biggest changes was because of the Davis-Bacon Act. It took me a while, because I kept saying that bacon thing, so we could never remember the D word, Davis-Bacon. So when you bid things out to contractors, there's certain rules and paperwork they have to do. Well, it's hard to get contractors to do work anywhere right now, because they're so busy in getting supplies. So none of them wanted to comply with the Davis-Bacon paperwork thing, so we took this out of ESSER because it's a federal grant, that was a requirement, so we shifted that around, so the windows came out, so then we were like, okay, so let's go back to those numbers, what do the community want us to spend the money on, what are the requirements, so we made adjustments, so we took summer school out of it because we got the big summer school grant, that was a certain requirement that you could consider that, but we got the summer school grant, so then we took that out, so then we're like, okay, that's what we're gonna do, so Sandy, Wendell, and I sat down, we talked to the other administrators, different needs they had. So we took the windows out. We had a ton of EL kids move in this year, so we're having the opportunity to have some rich experiences learning how to work with some of these kids, and so we're focusing some of the money on that. Because it has to be focused to learning loss, building, health, sanitation, COVID-related things, and then or technology and infrastructure. And then, so we did the 1-year custodian position. The Arlen needed some additional help working some things they were working on. We did the school counselor position for the high school, that's built into the budget for later, but it's just a 1-year position on here. So that's how we're funding it for this year. And then we're looking to add a student intervention and support paraprofessional to address some of the academic and behavioral needs that have come out of the learning loss from COVID. At the middle school, just a 1-year position. At the end of this year, it's done, similar to what we did at the high school and elementary with some of the paras there. So just, we kind of left the middle school out and we see a need there, so we wanna make sure that we're addressing that. And then, additional supplies for literacy and numeracy instruction. So we have some plans, we have some time, but based on those things that Mark was talking about earlier, some of those discussions and the staff needs will direct where some of those funds go, but that's what we have it reserved for. And then we're also supposed to address mental health services and support. So there was grants through the state, those grants went away, they changed the funding. So we're looking at opportunities to try and incorporate some services. Staffing's limited on that, so if we find somebody or not, we're hoping to find somebody, maybe a little bit of time, but it depends upon the staffing availability. Another thing we're really focusing on is some of those big tech infrastructure things that we need, because we can use it for instructional software, servers, switches, things like that. So Wendell and Sandy, we're working with Dean on how we can address some of those needs, because we have this money for high ticket items, and that's appropriate use of those funds. So, questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay. So we have to do it every 6 months, so we'll have to do it one more time.
One more
March,
time.
we'll bring it back to
Well-
you. And then probably the following we'll have to.
We'll have
probably
one,
wrap
we'll
it
have
up.
2 more that we'll
So,
have to do before
We
we.
get to do the ESSER scale or 2 more times, so. All right.
Okay, the strategic planning calendar, Linda?
Okay, so 2 things under here. I won't spend as much time on the strategic planning calendar. That just outlines and highlights the dates that we will have our stoplight sessions, and that the admin team will be including their scorecards as part of their board reports. And it mirrors our assessment calendar pretty close. There's a delay there so that data can be processed. You will get at the October meeting, the admin team in each department and school will have their cards completed, but they will build those off of the district scorecard to some capacity, and that's what I supplied you here. So the district scorecard and all of the scorecards really are the heartbeat of our strategic plan. They're the goal setting, they're the expectations that we have for ourselves, what the board has outlined as expectations for us, and we've tried to organize these in a very clean way so that you'll notice it's all bookmarked for you. You can find a section that that you want to read, and you can click on it. It'll take you right to it. So we have some academic goals in the teaching, learning, and relevance pillar, and we will close out last year's scorecard as we get the final assessment data in November from our state assessments. So right now there's a little bit of overlap between our scorecards for this year and our scorecard being closed out for last year. So this is the goals for this upcoming year. If you move into the whole child, you'll see what I try to do in most of these is incorporate to every extent possible the information that we got back from our survey, which I know is important to the board. We talked about that last time. So we sat down and dissected some of these within each group and picked out the ones that we thought we could build goals around and try to improve for this coming year. So there's quite a few of them in communication and community engagement, obviously. There's quite a few in the whole child, and they filter into our district workforce pillar as well. And then we wrap it up with the operational excellence pillar that's in there. So as we go through our stoplight sessions, we will stoplight each building and department card, but we will also record that data on our district card, and this will always be public and accessible on our website as well, and we'll get these uploaded within the next month or so for the new year.
Any comments, questions?
No, it's laid out very nicely.
Yes,
I
it
like
is.
this.
Okay, thank you. The pool fee schedule for 23-24.
Okay, so what you see there is just reflected some of the changes that we have, knowing we obviously have to be more competitive in recruiting lifeguards and other workers, and we've addressed some of that. But you saw in the annual meeting, we had a pretty significant deficit between, and a lot of that comes from the pool usage and what we're paying out in terms of workers and lifeguards as well. So we upped our fees, not overly high. We tried to keep them very similar for all of our students, but they are upped for the adult usage of our pool. But that mainly in the annual pass category and that sort of thing was extremely low in relation to other districts, so, or even other pool facilities.
Okay. Any comments?
Just
And entertain a motion to approve the,
Yeah.
I have one
oops, I'm sorry,
question.
go
I
ahead.
just have one question. Did the swim club pay for hourly use in the past?
In the past, the swim club was an organization that did not, but they are an organization that pays their coaches. So there's money, like club volleyball now has a usage fee for our facilities, and they follow suit.
And so we still just do the hour, we don't do like this is your fee for the year?
I think, no, well, it could
just-
be out, but it'd just be for that period of 1 hour or whatever it is a day that they pay.
Okay.
Yep.
I just thought I would ask.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Entertain a motion to approve the pool fee schedule for 23-24.
Swante, so move.
Second?
Long second.
Motion is second to approve the pool fee schedule for 23-24. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next is the approval of the first reading of a number of policies. I guess one comment before I ask if there's anything from the committee is, I appreciate getting these policies out in advance for the board to be able to see them. I'm sure, Colleen, you had something to do with it, so thank you. It's, when there's this many, it's helpful that they get out as soon as we can get them. I appreciate that. So, any comments?
I also want to thank Kay for the summary sheet that she put together that said these are all going away and they're all combined into this. That was very, very helpful in kind of looking at it and going, okay, what am I looking at here?
Okay, any comments from the committee on the first reading group? Anything at all?
Just that there's 8 new policies in here, and Colleen had sorted all these out and decided to put these first, so, because we have to do 2 readings on them. There's 9 new policies altogether, but we have 8 that we're presenting today. And you see the 9 policies are incorporated into some of those new policies there's 9 policies being deleted, so they're incorporated. So it looked like a lot, 49 policies is a lot down there, but once we take some of this out, it looks a little better, and we'll divide them up for over the next couple of months. But the 8 policies are new, 2 readings on those, and then you've got 2 policies here that are revised. So they have 1 reading to go up for. So-
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, entertain a motion then to approve the first reading of the policies listed.
I so move, Screwball.
Second?
Second, Baloo.
Okay, motion is second to approve the first reading of the policies as listed. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, where am I at now?
Approved.
And then
15.
we have. a
50,
revised.
okay, approve the revisions to the following policy. Any comment on that?
No, we just pulled those out separate because those only require 1 reading. Is that what we're recycling?
Okay,
So they won't have to come back.
okay, then entertain a motion to approve the revision to the policy that is listed 9211.
Swente, so moved.
Second?
Haithman, second.
Okay, motion is second to approve the revision to policy 9211. All those in favor
And
signify by...
also 8913. There's 2 of them on
Yeah,
there.
there's
Oh,
2.
okay, I'm sorry. And 8913, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Then we need approval to delete the policies, the 9 policies that were presented. And those, like I said, are all incorporated into the policies. They've been combined, so you don't have so many policies. Ha, 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 right? But they're condensed, so they make it simple.
Okay, entertain a motion to delete the policies as listed.
Long, so move.
Second?
Hirsch, second.
Motion is second to delete the policies as listed. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Board reapportionment ad hoc committee update. Okay?
We had a couple meetings, Shar, Dave, myself. Ron was at one, and we had a committee member at the second one. Talked about some of the issues, and you two feel free to add in. I'm gonna go off these notes that we had here. We looked at, the last meeting I brought up about the reapportioning, the representation across, rebalancing it across the district, because the population has shifted and that type of thing, and brought that out to discuss. We reviewed the data that I had collected, and I had pulled data from 1960s population up to 2020, and it showed that basically there was a 49% shift in the school district, in the city of Tomahawk, from 49% down to 33%. Right now, the city of Tomahawk has 4 representatives. With that big drop, looking at just reapportioning, looking at the whole structure that way. We aren't looking at reducing the number of board members or members at large, we're just looking at balancing out. The proposal that I brought to the group was having 3 different district areas with 3 members for each, and then it would be rotating 1 member each year for each of the 3 districts. We had discussion, and after what happened with the school route thing, busing, we thought, the discussion came up that we should have a couple other options out there to discuss. So Shire is going to be looking into that. We have a couple assignments out there. She's gonna come up with a couple different options. Looking at maps and that type of thing, Dave's got that. Pulling in the community and having community for input, so it doesn't come out and say, okay, here's where we're at, we're gonna have some community involvement. And take this on to next year, because it's something that has to be brought to the board. It has to be presented at the annual meeting, and you have to have a petition in 30 days before that annual meeting. Get all my dates straight. This has been going on since 2015, that we've talked about reapportionment. And 2018, some of the discussions, I went back in the minutes and found, what are the factors needed to come up and what would we gain? We looked at some of the discussion questions, and we said, yeah, we do need to change. It's been this way for over 50 years. The apportionment, we need to adjust it to go along with that. But basically, create options, come up with community input, and then come up with a final recommendation to bring back.
We just wanna make sure that the board is, got a full understanding before we, and that we get community input before we, bring it before an annual meeting, and then ultimately a vote. So we'll be putting together those options, we'll be putting together PowerPoints for community presentation. We'll have some printed materials for the board to look through so that you can kind of see everything we looked at and just be very transparent about, the approach that we're taking and trying to make these changes. So
I may have missed it. Who's our outside consultant?
We're gonna call on the town board people right
We
now.
need an outside consultant, in my opinion, to,
Why?
this is a very emotional subject, and it needs an outside consultant, a neutral party. You can put together all the data we choose, but in my opinion, I would have to vote no on anything that does not involve, as much as I'm in favor of the redistribution, we need the blessing of an outside party, that the process we've gone through is in fact an appropriate process, and that the findings that we have are based upon accurate data, and that the recommendation being made is based on those two things.
one of the things that as a committee we discussed is prior to going anywhere public with it is having somebody from the legal world, from WASB or one of our attorneys, somebody outside look at that before we got to that point.
You don't have to spend $20,000, we just.
Correct. No, we did have that discussion that
need
we had somebody else
Would
look
be
at it.
oversight that would allow us to say
Yep.
that we are not biased in the way I know biased is a word, but
No.
we're not biased in
Exactly.
how we're doing this.
Yep, and that's one of the reasons that we wanted to make sure, that I felt very strongly that there should be more than one option.
Sure.
That we're not just going down one road. We're gonna take and we're gonna look at combining these areas and these areas and these, and let's take a look at what that looks like. And, and have those discussions. I would say probably over passionate about that, but I so believe in transparency. And I think in our one meeting, Dave put it best, and that's the words of anytime you have anything tied to an election right now, there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah,
And so
a lot of emotion tied to
wanna
it.
make sure that we are being very transparent and that we're looking at things from multiple different angles. So, yes, we did have the discussion about
Good,
before we
good.
go to the public with it, we want to have some legal representation, take a look at what we put
And we
together.
have a policy in place that, I did contact WASBA about it, and we have a policy in place that in order to go for legal, we have to go through the president or the district administrator to get approval. So we have to come up with our suggestions and that type of thing, present it to them so they can ask for the legal representation, because we cannot do that as an ad hoc committee.
Right.
Because that
Correct.
policy,
We don't
I
have-
can't quote the policy.
We don't have the
offhand.
right to do that. We have to present it to somebody else and they have to then
Yeah.
send it on. So, yes, we did actually have that discussion. So I think we all were
It'll
thinking
happen.
hired consultant when
Yeah.
you mentioned that, and,
It'll happen.
yeah.
So we're gonna have another committee meeting on October 5th and invite some community members into it too. Just
And in
to-
saying that, we also recognize that we might have all these community meetings and nobody might show up, but that's okay, because we still did it. So, the point is, you develop the plan of action, you work the plan of action, and you hope for involvement, but at least you did it, so.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anything else? All right, board referrals. Of course, we have one attachment is to recognize Mr. Hughesby for his level 3 participation, is that what it
Thank
is?
Thank
In
you. It's been a joy.
WASB. Pardon?
It's been a joy.
Yeah, I see that smirk on your face too.
It's
buddy.
actually a privilege, and I enjoy the privilege of being here.
Good, very good. Well, congratulations, anyway.
Thank you.
Wendell.
12,
Yeah, so, John, we would also, you know, and I'll speak on behalf of the board, but you weren't here earlier because you were working an event, but we recognize you in your 19th year, 18 given in your 19th year, and the service that you've given, you know, and wish you all the best in your retirement, even though you're gonna be around a while, and we'll be doing this again in the spring, but definitely appreciate you and the work that you've done here.
yes, definitely. Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'd like to say it's strange seeing Jeff on that side of the room instead of up here at the table. And welcome Jeff to it.
Yeah, welcome, John.
Okay, then a couple other items. We got the WASB Regional Fall Meeting and the WASB State Convention dates.
So
Any
those
comments?
are in there, just, Colleen has sent out the invitation. If you haven't responded, please do so. I know she's booking rooms for the state convention, so we can always cancel those rooms, but I think you're gonna go ahead and just book as many, one for everyone at this point. And then, so if you know you're not gonna go, please let her know and she can get that taken care of, but otherwise we'll start to arrange transportation. I'll be taking the school vehicle, the Traverse or the van if we need it, when we go up to Minocqua. I don't have the date on here, it's October 17th, right? Yeah. And then in January, the third week in January for the state convention, so. We had one other board referral on here, I believe, which there was some talk in the past about adjusting the time of our board meetings to 5 or 5:30. So I thought I would throw that out to the board, let you discuss and decide, do you want to keep our meetings at 6? Or would you like us to make the adjustment the next time we advertise a meeting and go earlier?
Well, I think personally, I don't really, I don't care. But I think that we need to be thinking about, like Dave, his coaching and stuff like that. Maybe we could do it after he's done, you know, with football season or something.
We'll do one more.
So that he could,
Yeah.
he would be able to attend the meetings. That's my only thought is, do we have to have it the same time every meeting, or can we adjust it?
We can adjust it, I think, and just, it's
You
how
know,
we
once,
advertise it.
once he's through coaching, and other people might get involved in stuff. And we might not be able to make it at whatever time we decide. That's my only
How's it
thought.
for people working on, that you work?
I don't have a problem.
I work till 5, but
Don't
I
you? You
have a
never get a
flexible
day
job,
off,
so
though.
if I need to leave 15 minutes early, most days I can. I think it's more about, for me, it's not so much about what's convenient for the board members as long as we're consistent at a time from a community standpoint.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind starting at 5:30 every day,
Well-
especially in the winter months when you get home a little bit early.
I don't mind starting on 5:30 either, and even if we wanted to start next meeting, I agree with Shar, I like consistency for the community, you know, so that people
Right.
know when it is. I also wanna make sure that we're keeping in mind when we're discussing start time, about being respectful of our staff time, being here late into these evenings to give reports and be at board meetings with us. I'd like them to be able to go home and be with their families and do things, so that we're not holding them here all night, so whether it's 5 or 5:30, either one works for me, and I'll make it work no matter what, whenever we wanna start that,
Right.
so.
I just would like to see us be consistent. I don't wanna see us doing
I would
5
agree.
o'clock meetings this month and 6 o'clock next month, and, because I think you're gonna confuse your community.
I get
You know.
confused enough without moving it.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
whether we do 5 or 5:30, you
Yeah.
know, it's not about me. I can make it work if you,
Well, shall we shoot for 5:30 for the October meeting?
I'm okay with that, if everyone else is.
Okay,
Everyone, 5:30?
okay,
Can't promise I'll be here, but that's okay.
I'm
okay.
okay.
Is that better? Is that
Okay,
better? Yeah.
does that work better for you guys? Would you like to see
Yeah, there's
5?
smiles.
Can I have a vote, 5 or 5:30?
With
Could have it at 3:15.
Yeah, you're looking at 2 o'clock.
3:30.
Just
Okay.
don't do it in the morning. No, not in the morning.
Well, I think 5:30 is good too, because, you
5:30.
know, it's not 5, which some of our community members can't make it at 5, but, you know, hopefully by 5 o'clock, a lot of our community members are off work and can get here at 5:30.
okay,
If they don't attend the meeting, so.
okay. Any public comment?
I have 3 I'd like to bring up. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Remember to keep your decimal point in the right place, please.
Yeah.
It'll help us out tremendously. Young lady behind me does a lot of work to make sure these meetings run well.
Yes.
Colleen, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to thank Wendell for coming up with the community education program. I think that's got a lot of potential
Yeah.
to build a lot of bridges in this town. I applaud that, my friend.
Thank you.
So those are the three things.
Anything else, public comment?
I'm gonna just make a public comment from the Star Foundation. Don't forget the Beyond Crayons and Chromebook grants. Pass on to your staff. There's only 2 that I've seen so far. FYI.
Anything else? Okay, I'll adjourn the
Thank you
meeting.
guys for all your hard work.
All right.
Robert, that's my bad.
No.